This is only the second time that I've spoke in a meeting like this. The last time was with the bowler hat farmer and Liz and the rest of the team. I'm David Baggett. I'm the current leader of the party, for my sins. It was Liz's idea, okay, not mine. But a little tiny bit of history about me, so you understand why this crazy Geordie's doing this. I was brought up on a farm. You've heard a lot of things from farmers today about the state of the farming industry and where we are. I'm quite a lucky farmer for all the wrong reasons. Basically, when I got to 16, all I wanted to do was drive a tractor. I've been driving tractors since I was 6 years old. I had to stop when I was 11 because the government changed the law and you weren't allowed to drive until you were 13. So my dad lost his best driver for 2.5 years. Okay, so anyway, I got to 16, not now. Can I give you that, Liz? It'll be Graham Steele wanting to know what's happened. And when I got to 16, all I wanted to do was go home, drive a tractor. Everything that I loved. I used to get up on a morning when I was a kid, help my dad milk the cows, go to school. We then had a dairy farm of 400 acres, 80 head of dairy and 80 head of beef. 300 gallons of milk a day, and it was all work and we loved it. We had a great old time. That was with my dad and my two uncles. The family split up and we ended up with 100 acres, but a little bit more about me. When I was 16, all I wanted to do, as I say, was drive a tractor. So my dad said, before you do that, son, what you need to do is go back to school, get your O levels, get your A levels, and we'll talk about driving a tractor. So did all of that, got my O levels, got my A levels, came home, and he said, son, you need to go to university, get a degree, and then you can come home. Drive a tractor? Yeah. So anyway, did that. I went to Newcastle. With this accent, it was pretty good. I understood the language. So anyway, got my degree, and I'm a Bachelor of Science with honours in agricultural engineering. And I thought, my God, he'll be impressed with that. He's going to let me drive a tractor now, qualified to do it. So then he said, son, there's something else I need to tell you. What you need to do now is go and see the world at somebody else's expense. And I'm thinking, what the hell's this got to do with driving tractors? So anyway, he helped me get my first job. I was a graduate engineer at Flymore in Aycliffe, which are part of Electrolux. You all know Flymore mowers? The one that collects the grass, that's my patent. First patent at 25. I've many more since then. And basically I worked all over the world. I worked in Canada, America, most of Europe for different companies. Picking up patents on the way, and then finally, actually, hang on, can I put my glasses back on so I can see you, Lord? I've got the...
Stay there, I'll get...
Thank you. Worked all over the world. I was I worked for the biggest supply company to Nissan, which is a company called Exeter Hoover. It was a joint venture between the Americans and the Japanese. And I became design director of that company just as Nissan started, basically. And we worked really hard to train engineers to bring the work out of Japan and back to the northeast of England, because there's nobody like us for doing it out here. So anyway, we did all of that, and we took the content of a Nissan vehicle up to 98%. So 98% of the bits in a Nissan car were made in the United Kingdom. Most of them were actually made, sorry, I didn't have the mic close enough. Most of them were made in the northern region. So we had companies making parts for us and parts for other manufacturers for exhausts and God knows what. But they had engineering departments, design and development products in the UK, processing them, manufacturing them, and selling them to Nissan on a just-in-time basis. And that's a whole another story. Anyway, we got it up to 98%. And Did that for a number of years, loved it. The only bit of the car that I didn't understand was the fabric on the seats. And when you open a car door, the first thing you see is the fabric. And you either love it or you hate it. You'll either buy it or say, no, I'll go and look at another one. So it's really important. And I didn't understand fabric, and we had lots of problems with it because I was part of design and development on seats. Anyway, came down to Derbyshire, got a job with a fabric manufacturing company, and took it from a black art to a science. We made a bloody fortune, but that's another story. Anyway, so I did that job for 2 years, and my old boss, who was an Italian guy called John Fiore, rang me up and he says, Baggett, I understand you're not happy and you want to come back into tier 1 manufacturing. I says, no, I'm all right. He says, no, I know you're not happy. I want you to go to China. I went, what? You want me to go to China? I'm not going to China, John, forget it. It's not happening. He says, we'll send you out, you and your family, all expenses paid, to have a look round. Went out, had a look, it was horrible. Where the factory was going to be was in the middle of a paddy field and there was a river running through it. Thought, how the hell are we going to get this to work? Seemed like quite a challenge. Anyway, cutting a very long story short, took the job. We built the factory. In fact, we built a number of factories. We built the first just-in-time plant in China. Never been done before, and we built it. We trained Chinese engineers to do the job, to build cars that were there, better than we build them here. And they were good cars, not sweatshops, good quality cars and parts to go in them. I was in China for 12 and a half years, one full cycle. Every year in China is an animal. You can be a snake, and I did the lot. I did the full cycle. I'm actually a monkey, right? Which means you're a little bit mischievous, right? And you get things done, not in the conventional way, but at the end of it, they're done. So anyway, there for 12 years, knew Shanghai like the back of my hand, and Shanghai is 47 kilometers across. I used to ride my bike around Shanghai. I used to know it better than the taxi drivers. And I speak Geordie and a little bit of Mandarin. If you can speak Mandarin and Geordie, you can communicate with 98% of the world. So, got through that. As I say, I worked for a number of companies in China, had a great old time, trained some great kids, absolutely fantastic kids. One of the youngest accountants that worked for me, he went on to work for a company called SAIC. This is the company that were our parent in China, but they went out and bought Rover all those years ago. My engineering director, a guy called Zhao Wen also is working for SAIC. He's engineering director for the whole company. The young finance guy is the managing director of the whole company. So we picked good kids, we trained them well on how to get things done. And as I say, I loved it. I came back to the UK all those years later, and I hated it. I walked around my hometown of Newcastle, cameras everywhere, I'm looking up, felt scared stiff. Bear in mind, Shanghai wasn't a pretty place when I went there. In 1998, it wasn't the metropolitan city you see today. It was a bloody mess. But the people were lovely. Lovely, heart in the right place, just wanted to work. I once said to one of my guys, look, you know I'm paid a ridiculous amount of money to be here, and you're paid a pittance. And I said, does it bother you? No. We can't do what you can do, but you can teach us how to do it. And that's what I did. Anyway, I walked around Newcastle, scared stiff, thinking, what the hell's going on here? And I went to China in '98, so I missed all of the Blair years. So I didn't see anything of Tony Blair, of what he did in the UK. And the last audience I did this speech to said, well, oh, you lucky. So anyway, I thought, I don't understand that people don't want to work. Something's wrong. So I rang my friends in automotive, at Nissan, and I said, what's the content, local content of a cash guy? Can anybody guess what the local content of a cash guy was? 15%. It's gone from 98 to 15. The factories in the UK now are logistics warehouses. All those good jobs I helped create, and all similar people to me right across the industry created, were thrown away by Tony Blair. They weren't going to China because I was building the same cars in China, and I wouldn't send bits back to the UK. So he shipped everything out. So the kids have no future. And these were, when we went to work for Nissan, they'd closed the mines, they'd closed the shipyards. In the north we had nothing except Nissan. Thatcher gave us Nissan. And everybody just wanted to work. And boy, did we work. We did a good job. Sorry, I'm filling up a little bit. So I found out they'd hollowed out the northeast. They'd also hollowed out Solihull. They'd hollowed out Rover. I mean, the Chinese helped me, but they did the same with Ford. Dagenham, they did exactly the same. Ford moved the biggest engine plant from America to Dagenham. So then they banned diesel cars. They make all of the motor engines for SUVs worldwide in Dagenham. And they've done all of this rubbish with electric cars. Anyway, I got really angry because I thought, well, I've been away helping another country. They've been plundering mine. So I was angry as hell. So I got back into politics. I became a member of I don't know how to put this, the Conservative Party. And I helped the candidate in North West Durham, which is my constituency up home, a lady called Sally Ann Hart. And during the first, this was the 2017 election, I think, we took 10,000 votes off Labour. Didn't win, but they used to have a 20-odd thousand majority. We took 10,000 away. So then I'd also been part of the Leave campaign to get us out of Europe. And I saw what Theresa May was doing, and you've heard today from speakers what she did with the military and what she did with the EU and all of the lies she told. So I wrote her a letter calling her a bloody traitor. You can guess what happens next. I was said bye-bye to the Conservative Party. But I joined UKIP and I met Jared Batten. And Jared said to me, David, you know, the only way you can change things in the UK is to get control of a backside that sits on green leather, right, in the House of Commons. I thought, okay, Jared. And I thought about doing it with UKIP. We tried hard. We worked really hard within UKIP. And then that's where I met this young lady. And basically, what happened next, they started doing the dirty on Jared and Richard Bain. And I thought, and I thought, this isn't right. This is the Conservative Party all over again. So it was in a big meeting, it happened, when they were all there in Sunderland. I got up and walked out the door. The rest of the UKIPers couldn't believe I was just saying, right, that's it, enough. I'm not going through it again. And this is where it just gets really terrible. And sorry, I'm ashamed of myself. As I walked downstairs, there was a radio playing, and I heard about the Boris bounce. Okay. And in parallel, there's another MP, not Andrew Bridgen, another one, who wanted me to come back into the party. So anyway, one thing led to another. I got back in the party. I didn't believe it, but I did. And then they asked me to become agent for North West Durham. So I was parliamentary agent for North West Durham for the 2019 election. And I got Richard Holden, who became the chairman of the party, elected. After 103 years of Labour, we kicked Labour out and put a Conservative into a red wall, one of the most red wall seats you can imagine. Brilliant. Richard pushed me. I became chairman of the local association. We took the membership from 80 to 200 and something. Started really motoring on. I sorted out Richard's office, his staff, everything, because with my background, recruiting people is easy. You can pick good uns and bad uns. It's not that hard when you go into Westminster, actually, because they're all bad uns. And got it all together, and basically COVID struck early on to that first part of us helping Richard with COVID struck. But I don't like David Cameron, but he had prepared a document how we react to a situation like COVID. And pages were coming out every day, every working day, about what you do. And I was getting them in my office. I was reading them and sending some to doctors, some to industry, some to health centres. Right? Now, it's all going well. I mean, I didn't realise at that stage that it was a scam, okay, and that it was a mess. So anyway, doing everything I could do. And Boris Johnson has a meeting with, him and the witch have a meeting with Bill Gates. And guess what happens next? The paperwork all stops. The next week, no more. You have to wait, die, and wait for the vaccine. And I thought, something's not right here. This is not right. As an engineer, this doesn't stack up. And I think once they worked out that I'd worked out what was going on, I went straight under the bus. And I mean straight under the bus. They pissed me off so much I walked out the door. Said, enough, not doing it. So then I get myself back into politics, but fighting them this time, fighting all of them. Because what's important now, there's no left anymore. There's no right anymore. There's just good and evil. Satan and God. Us and them. And in Andrew Bridgen, I met him on a WhatsApp group. And he was on his own. We talked and met him when he was a Conservative. He knew I wasn't in the party, but we worked together and spent a bit of time with him in Westminster. But before I went to Westminster, he said, look, you know how bad it is down there because you've seen it in action, you've been part of it. You won't believe it when you're in amongst it, how bad it really is. And boy, was he right. I went into Westminster, met these people who I've had a lot of respect for. Rees-Mogg, scum. And I could go through the list and I can give you examples of why it's a fact. They're all the same. Spineless. Spineless. Andrew stood up for what he thought was right and they pilloried him. Just like they threw me under the bus. Right? So I knew what he was going through, but what he was going through was obviously much, much bigger. So anyway, got on pretty well with Andrew and then did as much as we could. I've met all the doctors with Andrew, everybody from Robert Malone, Pierre Curry, Asim Malhotra. The best one, I think it was brilliant, is Dr. David Martin. Because not only is he a doctor, he's an engineer like me, and a patent expert, and a weapons specialist. Right? And when you listen to David tell you the truth, you can't accept the rubbish that comes off the BBC because you know the detail. You know, I'd love to sit down one night and people just ask me questions about all the stuff that I've learned that I've probably forgotten about, but then I'll remember. But anyway, it was a mess. And we decided, Liz and I talked, I turned up, I think, to a couple of resist meetings. I know the Steele twins very well, good friends. And we got together and started talking. We haven't pushed Andrew or any of the big guys to join Farmers Food and Freedom at this stage. But why did we set up Farmers Food and Freedom and why the name? Obviously, I'm a little bit biased and so is Liz. We're farmers, okay? But if you don't have farmers and you don't have food, you don't have freedom. If they take away your ability to feed yourself, you're finished. It's all handouts from the government, all of it. And it's not acceptable. We're not a communist country. Remember, I've worked in a communist country. It was nothing like this. Nothing like this. The United Kingdom now is more communist than China. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we're in a situation where we're trying to work out, well, what do we do next? UKIP, me, Conservative Party. What's the problem? The problem is the people that become politicians, sometimes councillors, apart from the wonderful one at the back, have got what we call baggage, right? They're carrying something, I don't know, paedophilia or whatever, but the baggage is something that they can get their claws in. The deep state can get their claws in. So we want a grassroots-based political party. Yes, we might never pull it off, but there again, we might. who we have people like yourselves who are part of it. We build it from the grassroots upwards, from the villages, from the farms, from the hamlets. We take the people. If we've got the people, there's bloody millions of us. They can't win. Yeah. And we'll scare the living daylights out of them. Now, once we've done it, the big names will want to join. Right? But then we've got to decide, which ones of the buggers have got baggage that we don't want. Don't worry, I've already got the names. So the important thing now is that it's early days. It's all coming together. I mean, Liz could probably go through a lot more detail than me because she's done a lot of the work. She's wonderful. We will become recognised very soon through the Electoral Commission, which is the last piece we have to do. She's worked very hard to make sure all the paperwork's gone in and everything is done. But talk to your friends, please. The bits of paper that we've left with you, they've got basic policy in, the website's got even more in, and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. Please talk to your local farmers, the same as we do when we're out, and get everybody who's interested to join up, because we need the money. We need the money. Everything's in place now. We have membership cards in place, and we can process your information and get back to you. So please join us. I'd love to say welcome to Farmers Food and Freedom. Okay. You're going to come and say a few words?